You are approaching planet Akua. Steer your escape pod to a safe spot and watch out for something. Alright, welcome back everybody to Empyrion Galactic Survival. I'm KnowItAllDM. How's everybody doing today? Today I'm doing another episode of Learning Zone, where I teach the people who have never played the game before the best ways that I've found to start off and to do things. In previous episodes we've covered construction and building, whether it was bases or vessels and the like. Today I'm going to show you how I like to start off the game. So when you first start, you're crash landed right near an escape pod. So the first thing you want to do is access the escape pod with F, because there's an additional small med kit, energy rations or emergency rations, and 3 additional O2 bottles inside the escape pod. So you want to access that when you begin. Now, in a single player game, for the first 24 hours in-game, the first 24 game hours, there will be no hostile creatures spawning, so you don't have to worry about anything apart from drones, which is a good thing. Now, the very first thing I like to do is move the pistol and everything over to my hotbar. In order to do that, I press shift and left click, and it automatically positions them from left to right. I usually do these 3 items, the pistol, the drill, and the chainsaw, because they're the most important. I go ahead and put the survival constructor and any oxygen generators we may have. Being that we started on Akua, there are no oxygen generators because there's oxygen all around you. Also, I always go ahead and take my helmet off if there is oxygen. It doesn't really do much anymore taking your helmet off by pressing U, apart from remove the little border around, but I think it looks cooler with the helmet off. So, yeah, you know. Used to, it would use oxygen with your helmet on, and then they changed it. The next thing you want to make sure you do every time you load into a game is activate your jetpack. Right now, there is no reason not to, because the jetpack doesn't change anything apart from letting you use the jetpack, turning it on and off, at least not on a planet. Now, right away, the first thing you want to do is look for water. But before we go ahead and do that, let me explain the, let's see. If I open this, let me explain the layout of the screen. So in the top right, you've got your little map. It doesn't show the terrain, but it's like a radar. It'll show objects and creatures and stuff nearby, so that you know how close you are to things, as well as showing the compass north, south, east, and west. It shows the weather and your location on the planet. Right now we're in an open plains terrain, which is the biome. Additionally, you'll notice a little clock-looking feature here that is counting down. That is the time that it takes to sundown. Now, after it gets dark, this little arrow will be pointing up, and it'll be the time until sunrise. You'll notice as you go east to west, this goes faster or slower because you're going around the planet, causing sunrise or sunset to approach faster. Over here, you've got your temperature. This is the temperature of that you are currently at in your current environment, and this temperature is the external temperature, and this is your body temperature right here. Similarly, you've got the radiation here, your current radiation that you're being exposed to, the radiation outside, and your body's absorbed radiation. When your temperature gets too hot, this will light up yellow or red. When it gets very hot, you'll also notice down here a status that appears. And same with the radiation. Once your body radiation gets too high, you'll be exposed to amounts of radiation that can border on lethal. Now, down here, you've got your statistics from left to right. As you'll see, you've got the jetpack, helmet, O2 availability, gravity, base nearby, cannot build. If this lights up, you can't build or dig. And this is the resource nearby, cannot build. So this will let you know if you're near an enemy base and cannot build, and this will let you know if you're around a resource and cannot build. These only light up in multiplayer where the anti-grief zone has been activated. you also have your health, food, stamina, and oxygen. Now the oxygen content is geared, it's keyed directly to your armor and not yourself, but that's how much oxygen you have left in your suit of armor. Now, and your hotbar, of course, is down at the bottom. Inside the inventory, which you can access by pressing tab, you've got your same health, food, stamina, and oxygen listed over here. You've got the body temperature and body radiation, and your level, experience, available unlock points, and your credits. Down here, you've got your armor with your light or medium or heavy armor, and the statistics of your armor based on it plus your any modifications that you may have added to it, plus all your items here. So that's the basic layout you have here. Also, of course, up at the top you can see it's showing that this is Alpha 7.6.1 build 1466. So in any case, other things that you need to know that that affect you, that allow you a little bit ease of access, is when you press the F5 button, you get this little personal drone that allows you several things. With the personal drone, you can use a drill to dig in the ground or to remove stones and gather resources. It also allows you to place objects further away that you would normally not be able to access, such as across a ravine or underwater, so, in areas that you wouldn't either want to or be able to access. The drone can be destroyed if it is shot, but you can just press F1 again and you'll get a new drone. The drone is also useful for using a multi-tool to take apart stuff once you get at higher levels and can build multi-tools. Now, the most important thing, as I mentioned before in this game, is water. So you're going to want to go to the closest water source you can, and in this case it's a giant lake. On Omicron, the water sources can be a bit more scarce, and other starting planets may have no water at all, depending on the difficulty at the start and depending on other things. The reason you want to go to a water source is because whether you're on an oxygenated planet or not, you're going to want to build a water generator, which will allow you to create oxygen as well as gather water, which is a vital resource for creating food and other items. Also, while you're going around, you want to gather any plant resources just by looking at it and pressing F, because every time you do, you gain experience. Now, I've got all the difficulty levels here set on easy just for this tutorial. Normally, I play on harder difficulties. One thing that you'll notice I do a lot when I play the game is I use my jetpack all the time. And that's because you can get a lot faster than walking without using your stamina by using your jetpack. Just by pressing the space bar repeatedly in slow repetition rather than holding it down, because if you just hold it down, you just go up and down, and on some planets with heavier gravity, you could seriously injure yourself by doing that. But on planets like Akua and Omicron, it's not a worry, but if you just use space to hover at about the same height, you can move a lot faster than simply walking. Additionally, if you get a running start, you can move even faster and not use your stamina. Now, with the drill, you can always right-click, and you've got this little wheel that you can choose from. This wheel is available with the drill or with the multi-tool. However, they have different functionalities. The mechanical drill, or the tier 1 drill, or just drill if you will, has resource mining and stone removal as its only two options. With stone removal, after you reload with your biofuel, you will see that you can take rocks apart and gather valuable resources. In this case, I got copper and crushed stone. That one gave me nothing. Occasionally you get nothing, occasionally you get a lot of things. The smaller rocks more often give you nothing, like this one. That's just going to remove the rock. Wow, it actually gave me something. but they often give you nothing. A good place to look for rocks that many people forget about is underwater. You want to make sure you have your helmet on while you're underwater, but there are often rock formations underwater in addition to promethium or pentaxid and other valuable resources such as seaweed, which you can use to create biofuel after turning it into spoiled food. It's an easier and quicker way to make spoiled food if you just collect seaweed. Additionally, you don't want to sprint underwater because it wears you out quickly. One thing I often do underwater is I'll just pull out a weapon or something so I can walk along the ground to stay on the ground, and then just take something out of your hand when you want to swim, using the space to go up and C to go down. Now, the first bases that I normally build, I use the chainsaw to gather wood. I do wood buildings because they're easier to gather the resources for and can be upgraded to concrete and then armored concrete. Now, the downside to armored concrete, despite the fact that it has higher hit points than even combat steel, it is still susceptible to small arms fire. So someone with even a little pistol like this could eventually break down a block of armored concrete, but it's also more susceptible to explosives, taking more damage from explosives than combat steel. Now, one thing you're going to want to keep in mind while you're exploring is spaceports and other points of interest that light up red like that are always hostile, unless you're on a custom map, in which case someone may have forgotten to put in the neutral tag. But for all the official maps, if it lights up red, it's an enemy base or another player base that's not in your faction. But in this case, it's a spaceport, and I know the spaceport has several turrets on it. There are two types of alien turrets that bases have. One fires a green ion blast, which the green ion blast has a slower moving projectile, and that can be easily avoided simply by jumping out of the way or by using a motorbike or something to zigzag as you're trying to approach the point of interest, or POI. However, if the POI has laser turrets which fire red bolts, they move a lot. The bolts move a lot faster and deal about the same damage, sometimes a little more, but they're a lot harder to avoid. Also, the plasma shots have a range of about 300 to 350, whereas the laser bolts can shoot up to 500, which makes them extremely deadly. You want to avoid the drone bases, especially early game, because they have a lot of laser turrets, usually 4. Now, one of the first things that I almost always build is a motorbike. So in order to do this, I'm just going to throw the resources I've gathered into here, and if you look in your constructor, you've got this motorbike construction kit, which requires lots of things. So the main thing you're going to need to know is that you only need copper, iron, and silicone to make a motorbike. So by taking these rocks apart all over the place, which I should have been doing the whole time, you can gather copper, iron, and silicone without having to dig into the deposits. Now the deposits have larger quantities of a single resource. Like, for instance, this one has copper, this one has silicone, that one has iron, this one has promethium. To start off, you're not going to want to worry too much about promethium, because the base you build, you'll be building to use solar power to start with, and any vessels that you build can use biofuel in a pinch. So I'm going to keep on gathering these rocks and hoping to get enough silicone, copper, and iron to build the bike. While avoiding that spaceport. Alright, there's copper and iron. I really need silicone. What you really want to do is take apart the larger rocks, because the larger rocks almost always have more resources than smaller rocks. They sometimes take more hits to take apart, and like the smaller rocks, they sometimes give you nothing. One thing that I've found is that that's not even a rock, that the hardest of the three common materials to get a hold of by attacking rocks like this is silicone. I'm almost always short on silicone compared to the other resources until I find a silicon deposit. Although on rare occasions, whatever you like a rock you attack may have a large quantity of silicone in it. I found that compared to the other two, copper and iron, silicone is much rarer. Okay, all of that should give me more than enough to build a motorbike. So I'm going to head back to my constructor. As you can see, the constructor shows up on the map as a survival constructor. If you're in a multiplayer game and you've got other people in your faction, you're going to want to set that to faction access, unless you want to be the sole owner of that constructor. You can also do this for any other terrain placeable, such as oxygen generators, emergency oxygen generators, which full oxygen generators you can't actually build anymore, although certain starting planets, such as Omicron, start you with one at medium and easy start, in addition to giving you an emergency oxygen generator, which I find weird. So we're going to go ahead and put all this in here, and with the constructor, used to you would have to build the individual components, and then the medium components, and then the full thing. Now with the survival constructor, you can just click the final product, and when you turn it on, it will automatically do it. Now up here at the top, you can show it on the map and allow faction access. That's what I was just talking about momentarily ago. Additionally, the first things you want to do for a quick base, throw the core in here, and then you can click base starter. And then you want to do, in this order, I usually do solar panel, capacitor, large constructor, clone chamber. I don't even worry about a door to start with, and I will show you why. Now, while all that's building up, I might not have enough resources to build all that, but let me go grab some wood real quick, and all you really need for a basic starter base is 1 tree worth of wood, usually. 2 logs is what I usually try to get, and there's 5. 5 wooden logs is way more than I need. Larger trees usually have more amounts of wood in it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these logs in here. Now, with 1 wood log, you can make 40 wooden planks, and that is 1 wooden plank per block. You can make 40 wooden blocks per log, which means right now with my 5 logs, I can make 200 wooden blocks. That's why you don't need nearly that much. Now, I could make some stairs or something else, but at this moment, I'm not even going to worry about building a door. Now, with most bases, if you don't have oxygen, you're going to want to get to level 3, which I'm almost at. Why is my helmet still on? Oh, I went underwater. You're going to want to get to level 3 so you can access your tech tree. And one of the first things you're going to want to learn after the... you already have the small O2 tank. You're going to want an O2 station, fuel tank, and generator. But you're also going to want to learn the ventilator at level 3 as soon as you can, because the ventilator will allow you to have oxygen inside your base, and you can take your helmet off inside the base. So now that these are being made up, I might actually have enough stuff, which will be surprising. Sometimes visual glitches in the building process make you think that things are built before they actually are. But, you know, if you just get out of the thing and, you know, go back in, it'll show you what you actually have. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take apart these rocks that are right here. I always find that it's faster if you actually swim than walking on the bottom. If you're swimming and sprinting at the same time, but you'll notice that used up a lot of my stamina. And the more stamina you use up requires more oxygen when you recover the stamina. But I'm going to go ahead and grab these large rocks that are right here, and then I'm going to go back and hopefully what I get from here and what I already have will be more than enough resources to make the simple base. So now that we're coming up on this and have all these resources, it's time to make a simple base. So once these get finished constructing, we will be making a base. Now, a little thing you're going to realize is that you're going to start losing food because, you know, well, you're going to get hungry. But since I've got it on easy, that happens slowly. You could eat akua berries and other things you forage. Perfectly acceptable. However, nothing tastes better to me than a nice juicy steak. Now, most animals provide you with meat. And of course that shot didn't actually hit this thing. Come on. Okay. Now, you're going to notice that there's a variation in the bullet spread, but usually the shots, you know, fire decent. You have to get close for some and further away for others can be better. Now, in order to fight things that didn't even have any meat this time, I don't need alien parts for this tutorial. In order to fight things that normally would kill you, such as this raptor, you'll notice I often use two techniques. One is the run jetpack technique. For a raptor that's much faster than you, what you're going to want to do is get in the water. The raptor can actually run in the water. The raptors did not used to be able to run in the water. Okay, that was a mistake. So I can't even shoot under the water. So, fortunately, being on easy, I can just get out of the water and shoot the thing in the face. However, I'm surrounded by raptors that are now going to be coming after me. Alright, they were far enough away. One thing you want to keep in mind while you're... Oh, eggs, nice. One thing you want to keep in mind while you're fighting is aim for the head. The head always provides you with an extra bonus in damage. If you look at the projectile pistol, it does 3 times the normal damage on a headshot. So if I were to, say, attack this group of raptors here, let me heal up first. The first thing I'm going to want to do is attack their head because headshots can kill a lot faster. Now, if I was on hard, I would be dead because I wouldn't be able to fight off this many raptors, but the headshots tend to do a lot better. Dinosaur leader, head nothing. Okay. Okay, so now we should have our stuff finished building up. Now, the survival constructor is the only constructor well, the survival constructor and the mobile constructors are the only constructors that double as a food processor, allowing you to make steak and salami. Now that I've got the bike and all this stuff, I can show you what I normally do for my bases. Now, for simple bases starting on planets such as Akua at the water, what I like to do is I like to put the core down near the water and build out over the water because it gives me a flat plane to work with as opposed to all the rocky terrain, and I don't have to worry about digging under the water. However, I do often have to worry about putting like pillars in the water. Now, to get it down near the water level, I use the page up and page down buttons to place the core. Now I can place these blocks adjacent to the core and they're on a flat plane. If I wanted to place a block out here and have it still part of this, I can press the in button and click connect to base. And now you'll notice I can place these as far out as I want. So what I want to do, I want to just make this a simple 3x3 box. That's all you really need as a single player. But what I often do is I'll go ahead and I will put walls out like this, because I like having my bases walled in. So I'll do that there and here as well, but I'm leaving this spot open for a door. I might go ahead and just put this in here and like that, so I've got a flat, thing to go in. Additionally, I like putting a little deck on the outside. Now, in order to rotate the pieces, as you see, normally you use the insert home, end, and delete buttons, but I've rekeyed mine to use the 8, 2, 4, 8 and 2 buttons here, and then the 7 and 1 changes the axis that they are rotating around. So that way I can just use the keypad rather than having to worry about the without having to worry about the insert home delete thing being a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now, using my drone, I want to get an aerial view. Now, your basic hut, you're going to want to be too high. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this and this, and then of course on the other sides as well. Now, normally when I'm starting and building like this, I don't use the mirror plane. Oops, I didn't mean to put that there. I will have to get rid of that with a multi-tool later. Whenever you place something like this, if you don't have a multi-tool, it kind of sucks. So now that I've got the walls finished, I want to put a roof on. Now, the roof is going to be a third block high, and right now has nothing to connect to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a roof connectors. Normally, I just go ahead and take this sloped wall, and I will put the sloped wall like so here and there, and then rotate it so that it is here. See, that put another one there. Building with a drone isn't always as good, but now I'm going to use a slope, and I'm going to put the slope here and here. Of course, part of that slope is part of the roof is messed up with this. We'll just consider that a chimney for now. Now, in order to reset the block square and in the right direction, I throw it in my inventory and then back out. You could just click the cube if you're not really worried about the direction it's facing. But I'm going to go ahead and put this here, and then I'm going to put walls here and over here so that my roof is completely stable. So now I've got this interior that is not completely enclosed in. However, in a situation where you want an enclosure but you don't want a door, what I often do is I will use this little block here, and if you put that at the top like so, you can still get in and out just fine, but you'll notice the interior is completely closed. Of course, the exception is because of this, it is not. Actually, I think it might be. But what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to put the, now that you've got the walls on the outside, you can use all the space inside of here. That's why I wanted to go ahead and make it too high like that, so you can put things on the interior, and so they're not exposed outside. Now I'm going to put this here, and with the solar panel, if you right click, you'll notice, which is how I was getting the cubes different shapes, but you'll notice there are various different shapes that you can put them in. Now, for the most optimal panel, what you're going to want to do is look at the map. If you are on the lower third or the upper third, a slanted one like this, facing the direction that you, like if you're on the south, you want it to face north. If you're on the north, you want it to face south. would be optimal. However, since we're in the middle, any of these flat ones would be the best thing to do. Now, what I'm going to do is I like doing the solar panel with stand, and I just like putting them out wherever it seems, you know, best. So like here, I'll probably just throw this right there, and now I've got a solar panel right here. That's part of my little deck area, and it's also going to collect solar power once the sun comes back up. But now that I've got the solar panel and this, I can go ahead and turn on my base. And you'll notice it got a little bit of solar power. Now, looking at the solar panel, you'll notice that there are always 4 dots here and 4 dots here. This, if it's got 1, 2, or 3, or 4 of them lit up, determines how efficient that panel is based on its location, the weather, and stuff like that throughout the entire day cycle. So this is the maximum efficiency. The yellow dot is how efficient it is right now based on time of day. So if this was at 2 dots and this was at 4 dots, it would be as efficient as that solar panel can be for the given weather and location. If this is at 2 dots or 1 dot and this is at 4, then this is half or now a quarter as efficient as it would be at noon when the sun's directly overhead. Now, you'll notice that there are drones coming to attack the base. This is because I actually have power at the base. Once you attach a capacitor and a solar panel, or generator and fuel tank, then drones will come to attack your base. Being that this is on easy and that we are on a Kua, only 1 drone will get here. Now, the attack might take a bit of time depending on where the drone base is. If the drone base is on the other side of the planet, it'll take the longest amount of time, give or take. The only exception to this is like if you're, let's see, right here, there's a green barrier right here, at least in Alpha 7. In Alpha 8, they plan on removing that barrier. If the drone base were here, and my base were here, then the drones would have to actually go completely around the planet to get back here. One thing I find interesting is that this mirrors on here, which is something I didn't notice before, but it is quite entertaining to notice things you've never noticed before. But in any case, where our base is now, the drone actually got here quite quickly. Now, because I'm using wood, my base is not very good, and it'll be torn up by this drone without problem. So I want to get in close and shoot the drone. Now, drones, instead of shooting for the head, you'll notice the wood's all torn up. Instead of shooting for the head, you want to aim for the little red dot on the front of the drone. The drone's red dot is its critical hit location. So every time you kill a drone, at least earlier on, you're going to want to access its inventory and loot it, because, well, that's where you get a lot of good stuff. Now, I just realized a flaw in the design of my base, and that flaw is I don't have a place inside to put a large constructor that doesn't block the door. So what I'm going to do, now that I am high enough level, at least level 3, I'm going to go get a tool, unlock the multi-tool, and you can build a multi-tool right here in your thing. The only problem is I can't build the charges for the multi-tool because I don't have any promethium pellets. So it would be advantageous for me at this point to go look for promethium, to make pellets, and eventually to make a generator to put into the base. If you have a generator and fuel tank, then you don't need a solar capacitor and a solar panels to run the base, because the fuel and the generator will do that for you. However, if you have solar panels and capacitors, as well as a generator and a fuel tank with fuel in it, it'll use the charge that the solar panels build up in the capacitor before switching over to the generator. So that way you don't use fuel if you don't have to. Now, when you've got a base like this and you want to check your power levels or fuel and whatever, and you don't want to have to run to the fuel tank or whatever, you can always just press the P button, which accesses the control panel. What the control panel does, it shows you several different parts for the base or vehicle that you're in. First, you've got the hit points right here. It's got the total amount of hit points added up that it has based on based on the blocks that you have. So if you look at this, that'll give you your total hit points by adding all the blocks together, minus whatever damage they have. This little bar will go down the more damaged your base is, and the percentage will go down. As you see, my base has taken some damage. The solar capacitor will power up this charge with the battery, and this is the fuel that you have in a fuel tank. Anytime that your base is on, you'll be able to see what percentage of the power output you're using at any given time, and the consumption will show the wattage that you are using. This is similar to the fuel tank, but with oxygen, and ammunition will show the different types of ammunition your base uses and what you can put in it. One thing you always want to do is check the home spawn button right here, if you can, which you can only do once you put down a clone chamber. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the clone chamber right here, like so, and you'll notice that that button now allows me to check it. That way, if I die and I'm halfway across the planet and I click spawn at home, I'll spawn here. I'm going to go ahead and just throw this constructor down outside, and I'll be able to pick it up later. So I'm going to put it right here. Later I'll be able to, Later I'll be able to use a multi-tool to pick this up and put it inside if I wanted. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and repair the base because this is going to be the end of the episode, but I hope you people learned some stuff about playing Empyrion Galactic Survival. I had a lot of fun, teaching you guys. If you did, like the thing by hitting the like button, and if you're brand new, never been to my channel before, want to see more Empyrion, are excited about the game and the things that it brings, and want to check out some of my other tutorial videos, go ahead and subscribe. I'm KnowItAllDM. Oh, one last thing. You may have noticed I turned my light on. That's key to the L button normally. It's just a light that everybody has, and you can freak people out, except for no one else can see this light. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm KnowItAllDM. And as always, y'all have a good day now.